Yeah. All right, clang, 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 clang. Hello and welcome back to another week of Improv Basics with your humble host, the amazing Jeremy. You're going to hear probably those sequence of words again shortly when my slideshow actually happens. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to go ahead and look and make sure I have everything set up prior. Thank you for being here. Rough. So let me make sure real quick. Yes, I think I have everything set up. Today's gonna be up. I imagine that this camera will probably quit on me very shortly. It's my good camera, you know why? Because I'm touching the cord. Don't touch the cord, it's too sensitive. I'll try not to, hold on a second. I gotta not extend my legs. Okay, so today's gonna be pretty basic. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Today's gonna be pretty basic. We're gonna be working on warm-ups or talking about warm-ups. And because that's basically what you got to do every time you're with your group. If you have an improv group. If you don't, some of these warm-ups is kind of harder to do by yourself, but we can always apply the things. You know, I'm just going to switch to this camera. All right, 1 second. We're just going to switch. There we go. Sorry about that. I wanted to use the good camera, but alas, it's here. So, like I said, we are going to be talking about warm-ups today, which is kind of a step back from what we talked about the last time, which was the rule number 1 through all, which is yes and. And again, through the chat, if you're here watching, love it. I probably will spend very little time responding because if I don't have a one-track mind, my shit goes all over the place. My mind's too crazy, too hazy, too wavy, and that's a forced one. But a great example. And so warm-up's one of the things you have to do with your group just to make sure that you individually are warmed up as well as your group. If you don't have a group, like I said, it's okay. We can always apply the things to writing them down in a journal or just doing warm-ups with ourselves, right? Which sounds sad, but nothing's sad if you have a smile on your face. Definitely not true. But today is going to be a really, really quick class because I know that you guys don't want to waste your time if you already know some of these warm-ups. But again, a lot of these classes that I'm putting on here are with the anticipation of people that haven't done improv or they just want a fresh perspective. And by fresh perspective, I just mean a different perspective than what they may have learned it from, and just a refresher. So I'm going to be starting from the very beginning. I'm not going to go knee deep in some improv stuff and expect you to get it. We're going to get there together. I can just go through the slideshow very quickly. I'm anticipating this is going to be about 30, 40 minutes. But, you know, I said that last time and it was almost a fucking hour and a half. But yeah, I am Professor Make-em-ups. That's one of the things I like to say to my classes. First, and when they don't know me, I like to write my name on the board. I always change it, Professor Make-em-ups. And then I say, like, I have a doctorate in he-he's or a minor in no he didn't. And it's really stupid, but it's a good way to introduce yourself and to let them know that I'm trying not to take myself too seriously. And I change it every time, so maybe I'll change it next time. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this next slide real quick so we can get straight to it. Hey, baby, lock them doors and turn them lights down low. All right. And I added a lot of very stupid things to this one, which I really love. When I say stupid, it's not a negative thing. If my mom watches this VOD, I'm not saying stupid negatively and bringing myself down. I think it's great. Which is why I find it stupid, which is very funny. That's another synonym for me for funny. All right, Mom. I love you, I guess. So I have this slideshow here, and I added some stuff. Hold on, you know what? I'm not going to show this slideshow for a second so I can click on it. Oh no, it's not gonna work. Anyways, I added some stuff. So welcome to class, and here we go.
We the best! Improv Basics with Jeremy Monreal. Another one!
That's so stupid. And it's so shoddily put together because I don't know audio engineering or anything like that, but we're gonna go ahead and I want you to, I'm gonna play it again a little bit louder.
We the best! Improv Basics with Jeremy Monreal. Another one!
This is not sponsored by DJ Khaled by any means necessary. But yeah, my name is Jeremy. Some of you may also know me as, as Hey You. Some people call me, you look like someone I know. And very, very few people say, oh great, this guy again. So you might know me from those roles around town. You might have seen me in a lot of things like a local bank, grocery store, or cafe. I love getting coffee. No films necessarily, but those for sure. So today we're going to be talking about warm-ups. Wow, look at these movements on the letters, my guys. There are three different kinds. There are a lot of different kinds of warm-ups, and a lot of the time you want to try and make an amalgam of all of them to try and work out everything, right? To try and cut down on the time for warm-ups. But these are absolutely crucial, and I feel like you have to really give your all in warm-ups. You have to go and be a little bit extra because you want to know that you are willing to be extra on stage, right? And not feel restrained in any way at all. So the first way, obviously, is physical warm-ups. You know what I'm saying? I don't see nothing wrong. Okay, no, not that. Not that. But physical warm-ups, things that get your body moving, right? Because you need to be able to be physically active in scenes because, again, we're making stuff up on the spot. You might choose to do some sort of competition that's very active, or you might choose to be a character that has a completely different stance than you, and it might activate some muscles that you didn't know you had to use in in improv. But you know, little known fact, a lot of improvisers are like super jacked. Like we are just the tonest people out there, and we are like wildly in shape, can probably run a mile in under 4. So that's a little known fact. I think everyone knows that about improvisers, pretty sure. So we got physical warm-ups. You want to make sure you get some of those out, right? And you want to make sure you pick up the pace always, right? We want to make sure that we're not just kind of stuck, slowly sludging around and all that shit. Next one is mental warm-ups. Again, like I said, we're going to try and get through this, guys. Mental warm-ups. So yeah, it's important to get out of your head and prepare yourself to be uninhibited. These mental warm-ups are where you shake out all your judgment and second guesses. We don't come performance ready all the time. We don't know where every person's at on any given day. We don't know where we are at with ourselves right that day until we actually interact with people and try doing things like that. And a lot of the times with improv, right, we try and focus on getting out of our heads and just not thinking. That's a huge thing. Just don't think, just be in the moment, right? And the only way we can do that is if we do mental warm-ups to get kind of agile, be in the moment, and just let our brain play freely without second guessing or judging whatever we're about to say, right? You just find whatever the confines of the games are, and you stick to that, you stick to the rules, and you don't worry about anything else. You don't worry about what you're about to say because you are with your group, you're with people that love you, who care about you, want you to succeed, and they're just there to have fun, right? All right, and then we have group warm-ups, which, a lot of the physical warm-ups and mental warm-ups that you're going to be doing will involve your group, or they could involve yourself. They might be practices that you have for yourself prior to a show to get yourself warmed up, but you always want to make sure to check in with your group so you guys can actually warm up together, right? Because it's one thing to get out of your head and feel free with yourself, but you have to know what your partner's thinking, what your group is thinking. You have to be on the same exact page, right? Because you're going to be making something out of nothing. out of thin air, right? With nothing up your sleeves. None of you guys are magicians. I'm sure there's a great portion of the improv community that are actually magicians, but I know you aren't. All right? So take some time, get invested in your partner and your group, and figure out where everyone else is at and try and get on the same page so you can talk without talking. That's a big thing in improv scenes. I don't know if you can hear that playing, but it is roaring in my headphones. I don't think it is for you guys. But yeah, we'll go to the first tier. All right, so this is physical warm-ups. I'm just gonna list some warm-ups, some of my favorites or some that I go to either on the first day of classes or I repeat every day and I try and get ingrained within them so they just naturally do it themselves. And I also find it very beneficial to not to beat a warm-up to death by any stretch of the imagination, but I find it very beneficial to repeat them. And when they do become dry and lackluster, I want you to still play them with that kind of enthusiasm. You know what they're supposed to work out, what they're supposed to warm up, and you want to just, no matter how many times you do the warm up, perform it with the same amount of gusto. Yeah? Fake it till you make it. Anyways, so this first one, let's see what the first one is. So this is very simple. Very, very simple. It's stretching, right? I always start the class with everyone getting up in a circle, standing, stretching, moving their body. And the whole point of that is to not get stuck in a monotonous motion, right? Don't just go like, all right, stretching, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then do that for 5 minutes, because that's not going to help. Yeah, you have so many muscles in your body. Even if you don't think you do, you do. And there's so many muscles in your face, right? So this is when I want you to be stretching everything, right? We can go ahead and make a big star pose, right? Stretch out our fingers as far as they can go, stretch out our toes as far as they can go, and stretch out our faces as wide as it can go, no matter how crazy it looks, right? It's gonna look crazy. Like, I will show you, because I want your eyes to go wide open, your mouth to go wide open, just to be very, very open, right? So something like, I know, it's, especially with the eye, that could be a nightmare to a lot of people. Can I get a hell yeah? Give me a hell, give me a yeah. Stand up right now. Just so I don't get in trouble, I don't even know that band. I just looked up Hell Yeah Metal. But that band is Rev Theory. And these are some of the stupid things that I decided to add to these streams to make it more fun for myself. It's very selfish of me. But let's go ahead and give that another listen. Give me a hell, give me a yeah. Stand up right now. So I can go ahead. I will try and get back as far as possible. No, I won't get up for this one. I won't get up for this one. But know that we're going to be stretching, right? Stretch every part of your body. Don't get stuck in one motion. Stretch out your legs, stretch out your toes. I know we're not supposed to be touching our faces now. If you want to do this before you go and meet people, right? Use maybe the palms of your hand and stretch out or massage your face a little bit, get everything active. Just make sure everything's nice and loose and warm. Simple. And during this time, I think it's really beneficial to just check in with your group, whoever you're with. Not like, hey, how's it going? Is everything all right in your life? Yes, always check in with them in that sense. But joke around, like, just have fun, right? Just talk shit to one another, laugh, enjoy. A lot of that is pivotal in warm-ups prior to a show, because everything that you're talking about, it just opens up your mind, right? And you're having fun with one another and getting comfortable with one another and all that stuff. Next one is crazy eights. So this is a very common one with, like I said, a theater kid's favorite. It's very, very simple, right? We're shaking out our right leg, right arm, left arm, right? And we shake it, or we do it arm, leg. We do it counting up to 8. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you do the right leg, left leg. Then you count to 7. We're counting all the way down to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, so on and so forth, all the way down to where it's just 1, 1, 1, 1. And you want to make sure you're not doing it too slowly. You don't have to drive everyone crazy and make them work harder than they need to necessarily, but we want to pick up the pace with everything that we do. We want to go a little bit faster than we would in real time. So try and implement that. And then I always like to, at the very end, when it goes 1, 1, 1, 1, I always throw in a cheesy dad dance at the very end, something like that. Or I overly like, and I freak people out. Not freak people out, but I am too much just to show them, you know, this is a silly thing. I know we're looking silly right now, so be okay with that. So crazy eights, a lot of people love it. They might call it something else. A lot of these warm-ups and or games that I tell you will either have that name or have 5 different names, but do the same thing. Next one is sound and motion. This one this is one of the ones that I do every class. And it was implemented from a coworker and past teacher, Katie Mushlin, and who is a very, very amazing improv teacher, just a ball of light. And she always implements this in every class. And she's shown me 3 different ways to do it. So there's one way, right, where we can it's supposed to be literally, you do a motion, it can be any motion, and a sound with it. It doesn't have to be a intelligible sentence. It doesn't have to be like, and I went to the market. Like, it's not what it is. It's just literally a sound. So you go, whatever it is. The biggest point is that you don't think about it. You try to just move your body and make a sound, right? So there's 3 ways to do this. There's one where we could just pass one sound all the way around and we watch it transform, right? So if one person goes, then the next person in the circle going clockwise will have to go, whatever they saw the person prior to them do. You want to make sure you're looking at every part of their body. What way were their feet pointed? How did they go? Was it high register? Was it low register? Was it staccato? Was it flowy? All those little things. You want to try and imitate it as best as possible. And you just pass that continuously in a circle, the same sound and motion. The fun part with that one is that you will see how it changes, right? Some people that take classes will try and purposefully change it. They'll go, and the person will go, whoa, because they're a comedy genius. And they just think going against it is going to be very funny. But I will stop right there and I go, no, I will be that asshole, right? I will say, no, what did the person do before? Did they do, no, they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. So I want you to repeat exactly what they did. And by trying to duplicate exactly what they did, it's going to have minute changes throughout it all. And it's going to change into something different. And you might find that 3 times, 4 times around, it's completely altered, right? It might be the register of voice, anything like that, or just the position of the body. And the cool thing is that you could also use that to try and implement characters, right? An organic way to come up with characters. And I always ask people after the 4th time around, when it has transformed, okay, what characters did we find, right? What did you guys see? Who did you see? What did you want to say as that person? It sounds kind of like pretty trippy, but let me tell you, Michael, it's really cool. So that's one way where you pass one sound and emotion, trying to maintain its integrity throughout the entire time, but passing it in a circle and watching how it changes. Or each person will get a chance to do a sound and motion and we all repeat, right? So it could be, I go, huzzah, za, za, and then everyone else in the circle does that, huzzah, za, za. And then the next person will do their sound and motion and we all repeat it. That's another way. Perfectly great. And it switches it up so you don't get stuck in one motion. You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again. Or the third way of doing it is where you pass your sound and motion to the next person. They repeat it, and then do a brand new motion to a sound and motion to the person. So if I were to turn to the person to my left and go, za, 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 they would have to look at me and go, za, 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 the best of their abilities, duplicate it, and then go to the next person and go, woo. I know I feel silly doing this to all these thousands of people. Then they would pass that, the person would repeat, woo, and then they would pass a new sound and motion to the next person. And much like all the other ones that we've done before, you want to pick up the pace, right? You don't want time to think and second guess. You don't want time to think, oh, I want to do ooh, and then go and turn and go, wait, no, they're going to think that I'm stupid. They're going to think that I'm weird. Hey, that was cool. Do that. You don't give yourself time to second guess it, right? The whole point is to not be the coolest or the funniest. It's just to warm up. So take a lesson in some humility, just be fine with being weird. The next one. This one is a lot of fun. And like I put right here, this is not the name of the game. I really forgot the name of the game, and I always forget the name of the game. It's a little bit more advanced, I think, because it has a character in it. So everyone gets in a circle and they go in the middle of the circle. One person goes in the middle of the circle. They introduce themselves. They are like an exercise trainer. It could really be any type of exercise trainer that you want it to be, right? Any possibility is available to you. But I always like, because they're going to bring an exercise that we all have to do, like a step and repeat type thing, right? So they could go, if you look at like 80s or 70s, I think 80s exercise trainers, they'd always be really happy. All right, let's go. And be like, and we're going to go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? And you explain exactly what you're going to be doing. And then after you explain it, you go, all right, everyone, let's go. And you do it. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You do it like 3 times. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that is a plain way for me to do that, but I implemented a character, and I was just saying, oh, here's the steps, and here you go, right? But another person can come in and be like, hey, what's up? My name is David, and I hate carbs. I know what you're thinking out there. Take the carbs, get them away, right? So I have this new exercise for all my people out there trying to lose a little bit of weight and not look at carbs. You grab the bread and smash the bread, and grab the bread and smash the bread. Really stupid, right? But I implemented a character, David. He hates carbs, and this is for you guys over there to lose some weight. You take the bread and smash the bread, right? I implemented the steps, and then once I say, all right, let's go, right? All right, grab the bread and smash the bread. We do it 3 times, that person goes out of the circle. And you could see a multitude of different characters from this and do anything that you want, right? I always love the intro to people's exercises, like, all right, this one's for you. It could be any demographic, right? This one's for you single dads at home that don't want to watch PBS. Like, I don't care what it is, you come up with something, right? But I always love the lead into it. So that's that game. Each person's going to get a chance to run in the middle of the circle, introduce themselves, what they're going to be doing, who's it for, and here's the exercise. And then we all repeat it. All right, so the next one, Zip Zap Zap. This one is truly a tried and true favorite of any improv school, right? That's one of the first things that they're going to do because it's so easy to understand, adapt, and try and pick up the energy. Energy's huge, right? So what I mean by passing energy to anyone in the circle by clapping and pointing. So when we clap, right, it's not like a clap and a, we're going to clap into the point. We're going to use almost like the, like someone's about to roast you, right? With that firm hand. Like, look at this big old head having ass. So we're going to clap into the point, and we're going to say zip, zap, zap in order, right? So zip, zap, zap, and then it goes all the way to the back. You can point at anyone in the circle. The biggest thing is that you want to go ahead, look at the person you're passing to, and shoot the energy that you want at them, right? So it'd be zip, and they've received it, they saw that they get it, they're gonna pass the next person, zap. So you're going to be clapping and passing in that order all the way. It just continuously goes. You want to make sure that no one drops it. You just keep the energy, and you really want to try and shoot the words out, right? You want to shoot the words out because you don't want anyone that's low energy like, oh, zip. Very boring. And you know what? I'm going to turn on my air conditioning real quick, and I'm going to continue this. Hold on. Because I'm sweaty. Boy, I'm sweaty. All right. So, oh, there we go. Okay, here. Studio mode. Get out of that. So like I said, you want to have that same energy, and you want to pass it, literally throw it off your body. It's almost like a hot potato situation where you don't want to hold it for too long, and you don't want to think about it. And this game, you can alter it a couple of different ways. I like altering it for a mental warm-up, which is going to go ahead and lead into our next thing. But if you want to implement a mental aspect to it, instead of doing zip, zap, zop, you do that and you add on each time. So I say the same line every time because, you know, I'm insane. I see the class starts to get it. They understand it. They're doing great energy. They're present, and they're having fun, right? They're picking up the pace. So I say, okay. So that's too hard for you guys. Why don't I just go ahead and make this easier for you? Can someone give me the name of a book with 3 words in the title, right? So someone might say The Sorcerer's Stone, even though the whole thing's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. They might just cut it down to that. I'll accept it, right? So when I get that I'll say, okay, so it's no longer zip, zap, zop. It's zip, zap, zop, the Sorcerer's Stone. And what do we do when we get to stone? And they have to go all the way back to zip, right? So it'd be zip, zap, zop, the Sorcerer's Stone, zip, zap, zop. Once they start getting that, right, they can't go out of order. They can't go zip, zap, they want to go in order. That's the biggest thing. They want to go in order. They want to keep the same energy and all that stuff, right? And once they get that order in line and everything like that, then I make it easier for them because I am a generous God. And I say, okay, what's a movie title with 3 words that start 3 words in the title? And usually people say something like The Lion King. So I'll accept it, sure. It doesn't have to be but now we know that it's going to be a little bit trickier because we're going to have 2 thes, right? Because it's going to be zip, zap, zop, the Sorcerer's Stone, the Lion King. So you really have to be on top of it, know the order, and don't do the wrong the, because some people might go zip, zap, zop, the Lion King. Nope, you're out of order. You're out of order. But you can do that all the way until there's like 21 words, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of pressure. Especially when I like to start this one as kind of like not a kumbaya, but like we are all in this together. We're not going to try and get people out, and I will influence it. I want you to stay to the order, but if we go out of order, I don't want you to correct your fellow improviser, because we don't want them feeling bad about what they just did, or like, oh shit, I messed up. And we also have to implement the rule of yes and, right? Everything, it happens in improv, right? So people are bound to mess up or say something out of place in a scene, but your job is to not correct them. Your job is to continue that. That is now the glorious gift that has been brought upon the heavens to you, right? So if someone were to go zip, zap, zop, the lion, you know they're out of order. You don't want to go, wait a minute, it's sorcerers, you idiot. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make them feel bad. So you just continue where they're at. You say king, go all the way back to the beginning, and hope that you get the guys, that you get the order correct thereafter. That's how I like to start, right? I want everyone to be all on each other's sides, positive, everything like that. And then I turn it and say, okay, now we're doing elimination. That's where it gets nitpicky. And that's where like really competitive people come out of their hiding place right there and just try and rain down the hammer. A lot of fun. But yeah, that's zip, zap, zop. You'll hear that so many times. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, the homie Roshane. Like, I told myself that I was not going to respond to people in chat, but let me tell you, the homie Roshane over here, you know, thank you for that first time chat. I appreciate you, my guy. I appreciate you. So we're going to go to the next one real quick. Oh. I will. But listen to my intro song. I don't think you heard it.
We the best. Improv Basics with Jeremy Mariel. Another one.
Oh, gosh. I did that for you. All right. So here's the next one. We're going to go to... All right, so we're going to go to mental, which is what I am after doing songs like that. We're doing mental warm-ups real quick. So this one is a lot of fun. I think I even implemented something with this one as well. Let me see if I click something. No, I'm not going to click it yet. All right, so headline is a lot of fun. Roshane knows it. Arthur brought it to our group, and I bring this to my classes all the time. So what you're doing is creating a headline from a suggestion. The first person gets like a one-word suggestion. It could be anything. It could be puppies. Could be balloons. Could be printer, right? And they're feeded with the task of creating a headline. So the structure for this is very simple. It's just you say this just in, and then you say the headline, right? The person thereafter is going to take one word from the headline that was said. They're not worried about that original suggestion anymore. They're taking one word from that headline, and then they're creating a brand new one. And it continues in the circle until it can go as much as possible, right? For these ones, if you're in a group, I try and implement that the headline that comes after that one doesn't have anything to do with that. Try and make it as different as possible. Just because you'll find, like I find in classes, people will be like, tomatoes are outlawed now that someone got hit in the head after a performance. And then the next person would go, tomatoes being sold in dark alleys off the black market. Completely related to that last one. Well, I guess it could be slightly different, but it is relating to that last one because they're illegal or they're outlawed and now they're being sold on the black market or anything like that. So I want you to try and make it as different as possible. So, and try and make it as fun as possible, right? If you want to implement a character, like a news character, perfectly, that's amazing. So this one, I implemented this sound. So if we take puppies, right? This just in, 167 puppies create their own colony, making their own rules, and building their own houses. A long headline, right? But it is given a lot to the next person, right? So this just in, 167 puppies create their own colony, make their own rules, and build their own houses. And then the next person might get that and be like, oh, okay. This just in, with the rise of inflation, millennials are worried they will never be able to own their own houses. So they took something, they took own houses, right? And they changed it a little bit. Had nothing to do with the puppies that created their own colony, made their own rules and everything like that. But it was something different. So that is the whole point of the game, and you want to try as much as possible with every warm-up that we do, implement a pace and pick up the energy, right? So that is a big thing. It's a really, really fun game, and I highly encourage doing a character. I, in classes, will sometimes let people subvert from the actual like rule of the game where it's supposed to be this just in. And they might do a whole scene, but I'm positive, and I'm always like, yeah, you know, good job. Even if they don't go, especially in the beginning stages, I don't worry if they don't uphold the rules right there. Later I will. I'll be like, let's try and do it this way, right? But they might do something like, hi, I'm Richard Richards in the studio live in Florida. And hey, Karen, what are you doing over there? it's Karen with the public news. Like they do a whole thing, and I'm just smiling and nodding the whole time, knowing they're going completely out of the realm of what I told them to do, but still using their own twang, right, and using their imagination. So have as much fun as possible, really. The next one, what that means. What do you mean by that? That's exactly what I thought of, Miggy, if you're still in the chat. What that means. This one's a slower one, but it's beneficial, and it's a very good mental warm-up. So you could have a partner or a group of three, right? The first person is to say something specific, a specific action that they did, that like today, right? And sometimes the suggestion from a teacher might be like, okay, what did you eat this morning? And the person might say, I ate 5 eggs, 6 strips of bacon, and a steak. I hope they don't, but maybe, maybe they're trying to stack on for some semifinals of weightlifting. I don't know. I don't know who besides Ron Swanson would be eating that kind of protein. But they might say something like that, right? Then the next person's job is to create a blanket statement from that exact thing. So they have to repeat it. They have to say, so this morning you had 5 eggs, 6 strips of bacon, and a steak. What that means is, and you want to create just a blanket statement from that. What that means is that you are, man, I can't even think of a blanket statement for my own thing. You're a big eater, right? That's not super blanket statement, but, or I might say you like everything extra. You like everything extra. So that next person will take their blanket statement, right? So I like everything extra, what that means, and I want you to create a specific action that you didn't have to do. It doesn't have to be real. You did not have to do this today. Just a specific action from that blanket statement. You like everything extra, right? So I like everything extra. What that means is if someone opens the door for me, or someone opened the door for me today and I asked them to wipe down the floor mat before I stepped on it. That's extra, right? And it is a specific action from the blanket statement that came before. So then the next person might say, okay, someone opened the door for me and I asked them to wipe down the mat before I walked in, which means that I'm bougie or I'm uppity. So that's just putting a label on it and making it a little bit more open. So then thereafter, a person can do a specific action that they did that day based on that, right? So that's that one. And it can continue to go, if you're in a group of 3, you'll probably alternate, right? And you just see what happens from there. What actions you could do based off of suggestions or labels that your partner gives you. And that's a big thing in improv. And that's why this is such a really, really good exploration game, because this is how you're going to feel more comfortable on stage when somebody labels you. Because instead of taking offense to a label like, oh my gosh, you're a snob, we don't want to take offense necessarily. We can, that's a choice on stage, but what if we didn't take offense? What if we knew that we were a snob? What if we just lived that life, right? So when they say you're a snob, it's not to attack you, it's to give you something to work off of. It's to give you something to explore. So this game is going to help you when you get that label, you're a snob. You could even start to, like, how would a snob stand? You start to stand like a snob, and you might do a specific action on the stage that's very snobby. So that game is really, really beneficial for that. Big Booty. This is a lot of fun. I think the way I'm going to do it is a mental game. But the way that it's normally done is not necessarily a mental game, but it's an energy game, much like Zip Zap Zap. So you get in a circle. It might be 10 people, right? The first person is Big Booty. And everyone thereafter in clockwise is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8. And that, the reason I'm saying number, I know you know, I can't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because it's going to be going on a rhythm, right? We're going to be clapping. I don't know if you can hear like boom, boom, like a simple one. And the first person starts with, I always mess up this chant, but the first person who is Big Booty will go, ah, shit, Big booty, big booty, big booty. Uh-huh, big booty. Simple chant, right? But that's just to let you know, that's to help find the rhythm, and you know that this shit's about to go down, right? So if I'm big booty, the person next to me knows their number one, and everyone should know their number after that. So the way you're passing it is on the beat, right? And the reason we say number one, number two, number three is because it goes with the rhythm. I can't go big booty one, right? It doesn't go. Big booty number one, right? I pass it like that. So what you do, you have to catch and pass the ball. Essentially, we're passing an imaginary ball. And when you play catch, you're going to be throwing it, and you also have to catch it unless you want it to hit you in your fucking eye and cry and put a raw steak on your eye like we're back in the fucking 60s. Or like you're a lead in the Sandlot. Was that the 60s? When was that? I don't know. I don't think so. Definitely don't think so. Earlier? I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's way earlier. It's way earlier. Don't even put in the chat, please. Don't clip. Stop clipping this. Stop. I know what. Stop it. I know what. Well, great. You fucking clipped it. So the whole point is you're passing an imaginary ball, right? So if I go big booty number one would have to say number one, number three, right? I caught it and I passed it to someone else, right? And then number three would go number three, number eight. I passed it, or I caught it and passed it to someone else. So when we get to like the teens, right? Because sometimes I might have big classes because, you know, I'm that guy. You're not that guy, pal. No, but sometimes it might be up to like 18 people, right? We don't have to say number 18 because it's already going in rhythm. So once you get to the teens, don't even worry about the number thing. So it's number 1 through 11, I believe, or through 12. And then you're going to go 13, 14, big booty 14, 14, 15, right? So that is that whole thing. The way I make it a mental warm-up is that every time you mess up, so if you forget to catch the ball, right, you are now big booty, and everyone's number thereafter changes. A lot of people play big booty is the top of the food chain. You've made it to the top, and if you lose, you go all the way to the back of the line, right? So if number 1 were to lose, he'd go all the way to 16. And every time someone would lose, he'd go up in the ranks all the way back to number 1, hopefully getting the big booty. That's like a competitive game, but I like it more, and it's harder if the position of big booty is always changing. So that's why it's a mental warm-up. Whoosh. This one I really won't go knee deep into on this because it's so hard to explain. But I'm going to put all the rules on Discord for it. So this is kind of like one of those, subscribe to my channel to get all these things. I didn't mean to make it like this, but I wanted to put this on here. And I didn't know how to without it being an entire screen. So you're in a circle. The first rule is that you pass it, right? How you pass it is you use 2 hands, almost like you're flicking a blanket to make it straight, right? But you're just going up like that. Or doing the wave at a baseball game, football game, wherever. And you do it to the left, right? Whoosh. You say whoosh and you do the motion. So if I can get further, whoosh, right? So that goes in one direction. The story of my life, I'll take her home. I always do that every time. I don't think I have a problem. But, so it goes in one direction. And then exactly. So once they get the hang of that, they'll be like, well, what's the point of this? Why are we doing this if it's just going in one big circle? Then you start implementing new rules one by one by one. So if you want to change direction, we want to have, and I'm very specific with it, right? So we want to have a closed fist, a 90 degree right here, 90 degree. So wherever the whoosh is going, I want you to imagine that there's a ball passing around, and you have to have essentially wherever the ball is going, if it's going around from your right, I want you to use your left hand, your palm towards where the ball is going, so it stops it. You do that motion, you say bong, almost like you're hitting like a big gong, right? Not hitting like a big bong, you know what I'm saying? Oh. But I always worry every time I say bong in class, especially the older the students get, I'm like, damn it, I don't think they're ever gonna get past this. And once you do that, the whoosh changes directions, right? So if I whoosh all the way around, it comes to me and I go bong, they don't want to get hurt. They will get hurt. They'll be like, damn, you just bombed me? Like, what the hell, dude? Like, I thought we were homies. Don't. It's just to show that, things happen in an improv scene that changes directions. You just want to go with it. Don't take it personally. So bong, and we whoosh the other direction. It changes the direction. And I'll do one more rule right now, and then I'll show you all the different rules on Discord. Maybe I'll do like visuals and everything. But once people understand that bong is in play right here, they like to be little assholes. And they like to bong one person, right? I'll go bong, and they'll try and change directions, and the person next to them will go bong, and then they'll have to change directions back to me, and I'll go bong, and they'll change directions back, and it's just an endless cycle, and they have a mental breakdown. They go home and wonder what life is. So if that is the case, what you're going to want to do, and again, all these motions, physical actions are very specific. So whatever direction it's going. So if I go bong and it changes back to this way, right? If I know that that person is going to bong as well, I'm going to skip them. The way you skip them is you put one hand over them, the hand that's going the direction, right? So if it's going the right, I use my right hand, I put a hand over them, and I say bridge, right? And what that does is it just skips that immediate person, and the next person has to continue. You can't bong a bridge. You can't do it. I can't go bridge and they go bong, and that person is forever stuck. That's not how it's going to work. So they have to whoosh thereafter. So those are 3 rules, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll put all the rules in the chat. And there's many different variations of this where you can do a Dukes of Hazzard one, which is fun, and then you can do a Harry Potter themed one, which everyone loves, and I added a bunch of rules the last time I did it. It's a lot of fun. Premise Lawyer. This one I got from UCB's Improv Manual, and I brought it to my group a couple times as well as some of my classes. It's a beneficial thing just to help with your mental dexterity and getting really crazy suggestions or crazy lines on the spot, right? So one person goes in the middle of the circle and they get an absurd statement. And I'm directly taking this from Improv UCB's manual right now. So they give a suggestion, right? The person goes in the middle and they say that the statement is, sharks are really 4 dogs stacked on top of each other in a rubber suit. So that is the statement that you have to justify, right? And you give 3 examples as to why it's true. So I think in the book it says something like, oh, of course, sharks are really 3 dogs stacked on top of each other in a rubber suit because they're always playing fetch with humans. And they don't know how big their bite is, whatever. They give explanations as to not be like, no, that's not what sharks are. Are you an idiot? Like, I think you're dumb. Can someone else give me a real statement? Like, that's not what that's about. The whole point is to get an absurd statement that you have to justify. So that's that one. And then this last section, let's see where I'm at. Okay, I think I can get done soon. This last section is group. So group warm-ups might implement multiple things that a mental warm-up or physical warm-up would do. This is just where you are to check in with your group, right? So you are warmed up now. We're all having fun, but now we need to get on the same page with one another and everything like that. 1 to 10, very simple. I won't spend a lot of time with this one. You literally stand in a circle. 1 at a time, you count from 1 to 10. And the whole point is to do it as a group, as a collective. I don't want one local hero going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We did it. We did it. We're good. That's not the point. And I'll probably limit the amount of times that you could say something maybe to 3 numbers, especially if the group is bigger, right? Because some people might go 1, 2, and then wait for someone. Or they might say 9 of the 10 numbers. Like, you think it should go without being said, but people do it all the time. So the whole point is to feel each other's energy, wait, and be present. Sometimes you start like this with your eyes open, looking at everyone. You can kind of anticipate when people are going to say something. And if that's not working, I'll even say, like, we've done this a lot, where you close your eyes and you literally feel the energy of the room. And it, as hippie as that sounds, it really does work. If you just take a moment, slow everything down, and feel the presence of your teammates in the room. It genuinely works. And once you get to 10, so you can't step on one another, right? We can't say 3 at the same time. If we do, we go back to 1. And I've had classes that can't do this because they're worried about getting to the finish line, right? It's not a race, it's a marathon, right? So you want to slow it down. Just make sure the whole objective is to get there together. Mind meld. And this messes me up right here just because I've always wanted to call it mind melt. But it is called mind meld. And I probably still will chant mind melt every time. And that is a character flaw of mine. I'm okay with that. So this is you're taking 2 words, looking at your partner that's next to you, and using those 2 words and not saying those 2 words. You're trying to find a word that's kind of connecting the 2, right? We're not combining them. It's not like someone says waffle, the other person says daisy, and we don't go 1, 2, 3, waffle daisy, or wazy. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to find a word that is kind of similar, that these 2 objects and or subjects have in common, essentially, or what we think of. And the biggest thing is that we're not trying to only think about what we're thinking. We want to think about what our partner is thinking, because that's the whole point of these group games, is to get on the same page as your partner. Because if you don't know what they're thinking, when they make a choice in a scene, you're not going to know what they're trying to do. You're just going to take it as is and like be selfish and think about, well, that makes me think of this. Know where each other are going. Drive. Be in one of those cars where they train you how to drive, where there's just a second wheel on the right side, right? Where it's like, okay, now you take the wheel. It's not just one of those cars where it's one steering wheel. I want one of those steering wheels. I want 2 of them. I don't want to do that motion with the camera. I want 2 of them. And at any point, the passenger can be the driver and the driver can be the passenger, right? So that's what you do. And you look each other in the eyes and you say, mind melt, 1, 2, 3. On 3, you guys say the word that you are thinking of. If they are the same, you've won. Congratulations. If they are different, those are the 2 new words that we're going to use, and you're going to go to the next person. So if it were me, improviser 1, improviser 2, me and improviser 1, we'd get a chance to try and say the same word. We'd say different words. Then improviser 1 and improviser 2 would look at each other with those 2 new words to try and say the same word. And you want to try and pick up the pace a little bit always, right? But still stay invested in your partner. The biggest thing is getting on the same page, but try not to think too much. Always. Next one word story. Very simple. You are telling a story much like we did with 1 to 10, but you're going in order around the circle instead of all across the circle. And you are going to tell a story 1 word at a time. This is very hard, even for people that improvise for decades and decades, because 1 word can completely alter a story, right? If you're not listening to everything that came before, or the way the sentence structure is when it gets to you, you're going to mess up. And a lot of people just want to be fun and I'm funny, so I know what this is. Or they might think, again, that this story is not working, so I want to do something else. The best way to start this one is to try doing 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 first. So what that is you have a circle of 10 people. The first go around is 1 word at a time, like, you know what I mean? So they went to the park to pick flowers. Then the second time, once it gets back to the original person, you're going to have 2 words. They thought they found a rare flower that, so like, and then it would go all the way back, 3 words. And then after that, we're going to start to decline back down to 1, right? So we go 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, 2 words, 1 word. And that's the best way to do it. This can be a lot of fun and can be very, very challenging. At any point in time, I would love if you guys tried characters with it, right? Introduce characters, but not like 100 characters, maybe 2 that you understand. And with voices, and you're all telling the story in 1 voice, right? You're 1 narrator. You don't want it to be different, like once upon. You want it to be once upon. You want to try and do what is coming before you and saying yes, continue it, right? Add to it. It's not a one-person show. There are actual shows for that, so don't be an asshole. Ball morph. This is a lot of fun and can be very challenging. So you use space work. We haven't really talked about space work yet, but space work is literally just space between your hands, right? That's what it is. And you're going to see that a lot in improv shows because they don't have props. They don't have anything. They have to make it up on the spot, right? So that's why a couple of rules is like, these aren't scissors, right? These are just like little pinchy fingers. You're like, I'm going to pinch you very weakly, or this is a little bit weaker and this is the weakest pinch. These aren't scissors, right? These are scissors, right? I'm holding the two handles and maybe I'm going to use it. It seems like, okay, who cares? But that specificity really brings the scene to life. So it's very important. So what you're going to be doing, again, it's another ball passing game. So you're going to pass an imaginary ball, right? You're in a big circle. I'm going to choose someone in the circle. I have this ball right here. I have the space between my hands. I might feel the weight of it, right? It might be a little bit heavier. Or it could be really light. Maybe I'm like super strong. Maybe I've been like in the gym and nothing is heavy to me. This could be like 100 pounds, but super easy for me because I'm like really strong. No, whatever. I put weight to it, right? And I'm going to pass it to the person that I look at in the circle. However I pass it, it's your job to catch it the same way, right? Because that's a part of saying yes and I think we've talked about that, saying yes and physically. So if I were to get it and be like, I have like just that, I'm gonna beam this fucker, right? So I get it, and I'm just like, and I throw it really hard. I only stopped right here because I didn't want to hit my mic, but I threw it really hard. So if the person I threw it to is like, thanks, lame, man, really absorb the energy, like, holy shit. Really absorb it, okay? And then once you do that, it's your job to take this ball that just got thrown to you and you're going to flatten it, right? You're going to start to flatten it. And maybe you see a circle, right? I bring it out a little bit bigger. I start to show the space, turn it to the side. Maybe you see it's a little like this. I'm going to go ahead and put a little indent underneath it. Underneath, right? So I see how big it is. Okay, now I know, bigger. So I'm holding it, right? I see the space between it. I have it between my fingers, right? And it's about this big right here. So I know it's a Frisbee, but maybe I didn't take my time enough, and you might not know it's a Frisbee. It's a Frisbee, right? I would be a little bit slower if I had a little bit more time, but it's okay. It's just to show you. So I take it, and I might pass it with the same energy, or I might be like, hey, right? And I passes it very lightly, so they would catch it. Thank you, man. And they'd have it now, right? So they have it. They'd show the space in it. They'd show everyone that they know how big it is. I can't. They'd show everyone they know how big the Frisbee is. And then they would mash that down, right? They'd mash it down into a different object. And you could change it into any object that you want. But space work, specificity is some of the biggest thing, right? You want to be very, very intentional with how you build that object that you're using. Because I want to believe it. I want to believe that you have that object. And it's hard to indicate how much something weighs. I always tell people that there's no like weight necessarily, but it's tension. I equate tension for space work with weight, how heavy something is, right? So if you're really tense and you have a lot of tension building something up, it shows how heavy it is, but I've literally picked stuff, imaginary things up with so much tension in my body that it felt like it was 100 pounds and I was about to pass out. And all my little tiny muscles are, popping, everything like that. I'm out of breath after it and everything like that. That is my form of weight in space work, right? Is the tension. So that's that. I think that is the end of this. Yeah, I think that's the end. Oh, perf. So why don't I go ahead and bring back my thing right here. And I'm going to go ahead and take off this slideshow. And why don't I just like, let's see. What if I just like move myself to the center real quick? Right? Move myself to the center. Blew myself up. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, that was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. But I felt like I had to do an episode on warm-ups because the first one I did an introduction for improv, what it is, and one of the rules that you're going to have throughout the thread of your entire experience, which is very, very good. I think it's a good intro, right? But this is something that I would make you do in class every day. Any of these, and there's so many more warm-ups. I really narrowed it down to a few, but there are so many warm-ups out there, and there's so many different variations of each one. And if you find that you like one warm-up, right, then you might find a different way how to alter it. And you could change it a little bit to where now it's your own personalized warm-up, right? It still has some of the same features of all these other ones, but you've created something new, and people do that all the time. So, and don't be afraid to ask people if you're starting an improv and you join a group or you're doing a class or something and they say, oh, does anyone know this warm-up? If you don't know it, just be honest, like, no, I don't know it. And you might find, in actuality, you know that exact warm-up. They just call it something completely different. So that's one of the weird things about improv is one game could be called about 15 different things. But yeah, it's very pivotal to warm up with your group prior to a show. Make sure that you are physically warmed up, that you're mentally warmed up, and that you are warmed up with your group, because it is very, very key to be on the same page with your group. If you're really like half-assing these warm-ups, especially before a show, you're not going to have a good show. You might have good energy, but you're not going to be present. You're not going to be listening. You're not going to be building with your team because you're just like, no, I feel good. It's very, very key to have these warm-ups. And a lot of these warm-ups, you can even write down, right? Like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, like now, 3 things. That's something you don't need it necessarily a group for. You can just do those by yourself. You can come up with prompts by yourself and write 3 things thereafter and continue to do it. And there's little things that I implement in some classes where I might give them written homework, and it's not even like writing essays or anything like that. It's just brainstorming. When I start implementing space work, right, I want my students or my team to think about what is in the room that I'm at. How do I build the room with my space work? And one of the ways I did that is like I might choose to tell them to go home and write down 6 different locations with 20 different objects in the room, right? Just so you can start to think about it. Just brainstorm so you don't feel so stuck in the moment, right? So if someone labels the stage as a bedroom, you don't go, shit, a bedroom? I've never been in one of those. What do they have? I don't know, a fishing net? These are things that'll go through your mind because you're freaking out. Take all the time you want, slow everything down, be specific, have fun. Just don't be too down on yourself, right? Every show or every game that you do in improv is unique and it's one of a kind. Those are, again, synonyms. They're one of a kind because you're not regurgitating material. You're not working on a set that you wrote and that you've performed multiple times, right? You are in the moment building with someone. You're gonna have some of the most amazing storylines, some of the most amazing characters, some of the most just amazing moments that you'll ever have. And you won't necessarily be able to duplicate that again because it might fall short with you, right? The whole thing is to be present in the moment. You can duplicate characters. I won't say that you can't, but you will find a character out of the blue by just being present in the moment, trusting yourself, trusting your team. And then once you find that you really like that character, you go home, you start writing about it. You start writing about that character, what they like, what they do, their no-nos, their go-go's, their ho-hos, their so-sos, their whoa-who's. But yeah, without talking too much at the end here, I appreciate everyone that came in today in the chat and watched this stream about improv basics. It was a step back talking about warm-ups, but they are very, very beneficial. And moving forward, I will be talking more about the building blocks of improv, and I'll be breaking down the lessons and talking a little bit more. And I think I'll probably have, guests that I can talk with about improv and everything like that. I'm going to just open it up. Why not? And it has been a pleasure. I appreciate you guys so much, and I hope that you have a wunderbar day, which is Brazilian for good. And I know it's not. Don't clip that. Stop. Dude, it was a joke. Stop. Don't. People are just clip happy nowadays. Like, you didn't catch me slipping. It was a joke. Clip it. Go ahead. Whatever. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you guys again. And if you are watching the VOD, I should have put this way earlier in the beginning. That is my Discord. Hopefully you got to the end. I really hope you did, but I talked way too much, especially here at the end for this outro. But join that Discord, and I would love to have you there, part of the community. I have a subsection for lessons where I'll go ahead and write down what we talked about. Maybe I'll share some of the slides. I'll also add the rules of games that I can't explain on here. And I am finished. Have a great day, guys. Love you. Stay beautiful. Stay safe. Stay weird.